So, hi guys, my name is Peter and this is Sasha again.
Hello.
Our guest and our friend, former colleague, and today we are going to discuss wildlife.
Yay! My favorite topic.
Yeah, because it's quite famous and you can see a lot of pictures and videos of Australian wildlife on the internet.
Right.
So is it really that specific or dangerous, or what would you tell us about it?
It is very specific.
Yeah.
It's very different from anything I have ever experienced and seen in my life. I would start maybe by saying that majority of the animals in Australia are kind of bigger than what you would expect them to be.
Yeah.
So a regular, let's take an ant.
Yeah.
Ants here, like this tiny little,
tiny things.
Kind of, I wouldn't say cute, but harmless, very small animals. Ants in Australia can be like this big. And when it crawls over you or on the wall or something, you don't really know what to think about it.
Yeah.
Everything is kind of, or majority of animals are kind of bigger in Australia. Also, there is a saying, and I quite believe it, that everything in Australia will try to kill you.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's not that some of them can't, because they are too small or they don't have the power to do so, but they will try nonetheless. That's my belief and that's my experience from my time in Australia.
I've just imagined, a koala bear trying to bite your neck or something.
Oh yeah, there is a kind of a thing that Australians do to tourists, and they have this mythical animal called the drop bear, and the drop bear is like a koala bear that has mutated and jumps on tourists from the trees and bites their neck. Now this is obviously not true, and Australians just do it for fun, and they want to scare people or make fun of people, so they tell them a story about a drop bear. Drop bear is not real, however many other animals are.
Everything else is. So let me put it straight, like they have some 10,000 lethal species of snakes, spiders and everything, and they make up some new ones to scare tourists.
Well, it's a local kind of thing. They will just always try to take Mickey out of you, and they will always make fun of you.
Is it true that there are so many different and really dangerous species of spiders and insects and snakes and all that kind of stuff
absolutely.
that you hear about all the time on the internet?
Yes, it is true. There's plenty of them, and some of them even live in the big cities. So there is a type of a spider which is called a funnel web spider. It's very common for Sydney. When you live in parts of the Sydney where it's damp and warm, you will need to be a little bit more careful about handling your things. Funnel webs are famous for making their nests during the nesting season in your shoes. So
yeah, I've heard that one. You have to check your shoes before you put them on, because
absolutely
there can be a deadly spider, just waiting in there.
Yes.
And I've heard that they are quite aggressive as well.
Oh yes, funnel webs in particular, they will. Majority of spiders will still run away from you when you come across them, but funnel webs in particular, they will kind of attack. Yeah. Even if you don't pose a threat, they will just they're quite nasty.
So far we are talking about wildlife, but talking about your shoes at your homes and your gardens. So have you actually gone out to the real wildlife, to the bush, or have you actually seen the nature in Australia?
Yes. So I have been to the rainforest. And the rainforest is full of really interesting Australian wildlife. So you can see snakes. They are not dangerous unless you are posing a threat to them. So what I would suggest, if you see a snake, just
just leave it alone.
Exactly. Don't touch it or don't try to manipulate with it in any way, and you should be fine.
So no throwing around. Yeah.
Exactly. And unless you're posing a threat, they will just peacefully go away.
Yeah.
Australia is amazing for their birds. There's so many different species of birds.
Yeah.
Many of you guys would probably know the cockatoo, so the white parrots with the little mohawk on their heads. So they are native to Australia, and while we have them as pets, and we keep them in cages and have them at home, they live freely in Australia, and you can encounter them. I used to have one that came to my place in Sydney and was sitting on outside of my apartment every single morning. They're very noisy, so they like to make a lot of noise in the mornings, and so do the birds which are called kookaburra. And those are birds who are quite common and very famous for Australia, and I would say one of the most typical for Australia. And the noise they make, it sounds like somebody's laughing.
Really?
So it's really funny when you hear it. You get used to it and you know it's a bird, but first time I heard it, it was like a person laughing, and I'm like, what is going on? It was really interesting experience. And then obviously one of the species of birds are magpies. And they are very dangerous during the nesting season. They will attack you.
Territorial strictly.
Exactly. So they will attack you if you are passing underneath their nest, because they think you might pose a threat for their young. So I would be very careful. A lot of people who are biking around, they're going around on bicycles, they actually have these spikes on their helmets.
To prevent the attacks.
To prevent the attacks, exactly. So you see them in Prague, you would see those spikes on buildings to keep pigeons away. They wear it on their helmets when they're biking around. That's quite an interesting look.
And of course it is impossible to talk about Australia without mentioning kangaroos and koalas.
Absolutely.
So, are they as common as we imagine them to be? Like, do you actually encounter koalas or kangaroos out in the suburbs or in the cities?
Right, so contrary to most people's beliefs, the center of Sydney doesn't have koalas and kangaroos jumping around. So big cities like in the central business districts, you wouldn't encounter them. But you can go just slightly outside of the city, especially kangaroos you would see. They are around. There's actually more kangaroos in Australia than there's people.
Really?
So, yes. So there's plenty of kangaroos to see, even in the wild. You don't have to go to a zoo to see them. It's a little bit more complicated with koalas. They are actually endangered species. So you won't see them in the nature that much. I wasn't lucky enough to see one. I saw them in the wildlife parks and sanctuaries where they keep them. In certain states in Australia, you can even hold and pet a koala. You can give a koala a hug and have a picture taken with it. I didn't do it because I felt like I would be stressing the animal, so I didn't want to do it. But there is the possibility for people who are interested.
Nice. And of course, in one of our previous videos, we talked about the beaches and the sea, and that the Australians go to the sea a lot.
That's correct.
What about the sea life? I've heard a lot about some dangerous species in the sea, and not only the sharks. So
sharks would be an obvious threat, but the thing is, you see them obviously, but they don't come as close to the coast to pose any real threat to the people who are just staying at the beach, like at the coast. So they are not as dangerous as you might imagine unless you swim further to the sea. But there are species like, let's say, the blue ringed octopus. It's this tiny little animal, and it's really beautiful. So many people would feel like touching it and just seeing it a little bit closer up. Not a good idea, guys. When you pick pick it up, it stings you, and you have approximately 3 minutes left from that point onwards to make it to the hospital or to a closest stand with where the lifeguard might be able to help you. But yeah, be very careful. General advice in Australia is don't touch the animals. You never know. So, but yeah, also in the northern parts of Australia, there are a lot of crocodiles.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So it's not recommended to swim up north, actually, because yeah, especially the saltwater crocodiles are very dangerous, and you won't outswim them. If they attack you in water, there is no chance you're going to outswim them. You might outrun them. If they catch you on the beach and you start running, they can run really fast, but only a short distance.
Yeah, so if you're good at running, you can
might be
them,
able to, yes. But in general, yeah, it's not advised to go swimming in the northern parts of Australia.
Yeah. And so, what is the weirdest thing that you saw when it comes to wildlife and animals in
Weirdest?
Australia?
Okay, well, they have really weird insects. Like, I don't know, they in Queensland, where I was for the second part of my stay in Australia, they have flying cockroaches.
Oh.
I have never seen a flying cockroach before in my life. Obviously, in Australia, it's quite common.
Yeah.
I must say I wasn't too impressed. I wasn't very happy.
Yeah, I believe that. Like, when a bug like that big probably flies in your face.
Oh, that's not a good experience, trust me.
No, I wouldn't want that. Like that's a nightmare stuff. Really.
Exactly. Yes. So that was probably the strangest thing because I didn't expect it to happen.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for the information on the wildlife. So as you can see, guys, if you ever travel to Australia, try not to touch anything and check your shoes, basically.
Yes.
And those are some good ideas to do, and I guess it's best to always ask the locals, like what to do, what not to do.
Absolutely, yes. Just rely on the locals' advice.
Yeah, so that was some interesting facts on Australian wildlife firsthand. So thank you very much for this really enjoyable video. It was a blast. And this wasn't the last video, so you can look forward to one more video. For me personally, that's going to be the most interesting, so I won't tell you what it's gonna be. Of course, to get notified about the new video, subscribe to our channel, check our Facebook page, because there we post news about not just our school but also about the videos every week. So that's all from us for today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we have. And thank you very much for watching.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Bye.